My brother showed up at my apartment unannounced with his two daughters in tow, insisting I take them in while he chased a once-in-a-lifetime investment scheme across the country for 3 months. When I refused and mentioned involving child services, he hacked into my social media and spread vicious lies about me to my professional network, nearly costing me my career. Unlike polished gems, siblings spoiled as the family star often end up tarnished beyond recognition. Growing up, my brother always manipulated his way out of trouble, no matter how selfish or destructive his actions were toward me. He faced zero repercussions because he was the prodigy son. What sealed this was his sharp intellect and charm. He had this effortless charisma with piercing blue eyes and a quick wit that our dad idolized. That spent years pitting us against each other in terms of smarts. I have average features and a more analytical mind, but I was never as brilliant as my brother in his eyes. Dad loved drawing parallels. After we became teens, he kept pushing me to emulate my brother's study habits or join debates like him, even asking him to tutor me in math. But my brother would sabotage me, giving wrong answers or mocking my efforts if I sought his help to improve. That's how we grew to despise one another. I think my brother inherited the most toxic habits from our father, while I rebelled against them. Being elevated on a throne his whole life by dad just for his cleverness morphed him into a narcissistic user who believes the world owes him everything due to his genius. The endless comparisons and dismissals from dad shattered my confidence. As an adult, I'm introverted and methodical, and some label me as overly cautious. Recently, I've begun counseling to develop assertiveness, though standing my ground in personal ties is challenging for the first time. I believe my family's dynamic damaged me profoundly, complicating solid friendships or love lives. My brother even poached my college project partner during our sophomore year for no apparent motive. He never respected her and dismissed her as basic multiple times. When our parents discovered it, they advised me to forgive and forget. He wasn't even reprimanded, and that's when I truly understood their bias toward him. Mom just observed passively as dad eroded my self-worth throughout childhood, leaving me convinced no one would ever prioritize or validate me. It's difficult for me to open up or bond in relationships. Yet, my existence hasn't been entirely miserable because of dad and my brother. One benefit of being the dull sibling was avoiding distractions, so I immersed myself in coding and tech. I finished high school with top honors and secured a merit-based admission to my ideal engineering program. That was massive, since dad announced before high school that he'd cover my brother's tuition as the heir apparent, but I'd need to fund trade school myself. I recall weeping and questioning why he didn't value me like my brother, and he maintained he did, but my brother merited it more as the eldest son. The day I earned my acceptance, I was ecstatic to inform my parents. Part of me relished having an edge he lacked. My brother slacked through high school, chasing schemes and flunking classes without any heat from them, and he only attended university because they bankrolled it. It wasn't prestigious due to his subpar record. So I hurried home thrilled to announce my spot at an elite tech institute. I'd never been so pumped to deliver positive news, but mom just nodded nice, and dad barely glanced from his newspaper without a word. Then he ghosted me for days. I probed why he seemed resentful of my achievement, but he evaded and exited. It felt like he despised me for succeeding when typical parents would cheer. Anyway, that's when I realized my solitude, how my family aimed to marginalize me. I couldn't fathom why dad sired me only to resent me eternally, fostering my self-loathing. That acceptance day turned sour, sobbing into slumber, acknowledging I'd never possess a supportive kin like my brother had. I loathed him for it. That evening, I coded until sunrise, mapping my path. Weary of being the overlooked kid, I pledged to funnel my fury into innovation. Rather than self-pity or craving approval, I channel energy into tech pursuits as usual and grant myself what they withheld: security, autonomy, ingenuity, expertise, even sans affection. That's precisely what happened. I graduated summa cum laude, snagged a prime role at a startup I coded for during internships post-college, and I've pulled 7 figures in equity since 25. On family visits, I'd update them, earning nods from relatives, but my parents never bothered to praise or recognize my feats. As an adult, I steered clear of sharing my startup's valuation or promotions with dad, immune to stoke his jealousy. I confided in mom once and she whispered she was proud, the warmest from either. But dad still viewed me as secondary. At gatherings, he'd redirect if focus shifted to me. For example, at a reunion barbecue, my aunt praised a patent I'd filed, which I'd mentioned casually. It was my third, boosting my firm's stock. She highlighted it, and cousins were surprisingly encouraging. One inquired about my next venture, but dad interjected that it was tedious and to switch subjects. Quietly, he grumbled that it was likely exaggerated. I launched my own app company that year and shared milestones online. All family engaged except dad. He was probably bitter as my brother's path diverged wildly. Brother entered uni fully funded, dropped out, got entangled in shady business deals with a sketchy partner he'd met briefly. I had a hunch parents begged him to cut ties, but he persisted and attempted to build with her despite the red flags. Turns out they clashed constantly, but that didn't deter more entanglements or solving issues by starting a family. I bit back emotions seeing him announce his second daughter, knowing the chaos ahead. Brother was reckless, and his partner too. I encountered her at events, but she snubbed me, pilfered ideas without credit, and always mooched. Our bond didn't mend in adulthood. We drifted after leaving home, linked vaguely online, and at reunions he'd belittle my nerdy job or gadgets. I suspect projection. I own high-end tech and cycle laptops, and he'd question if my knockoff device was real. One Easter, upon arrival, he eyed me and quipped, "Still playing pretend CEO like the arrogant geek you are?" It was baseless and crude. He trash-talked me before his girls, dropping profanities despite their youth. I don't regret deeming him scum, nor my responses after he abandoned his daughters at my door. One lazy Sunday afternoon, unwinding post-crunch, my buzzer sounded. Stunned, I found his 9- and 6-year-old daughters on my stoop with duffel bags. They explained Dad was pursuing a big deal for 12 weeks, and I was minding them. We hadn't communicated since Thanksgiving, where he mocked my fitness tracker as compensation for no life. No idea why he'd presume I'd nanny gratis for quarters. The girls were timid but well-behaved, clearly puzzled, so I welcomed them in and dialed him. He dodged initial attempts but picked up. I declared I couldn't host, retrieve them, or I'd notify authorities. Googling child welfare on speaker, he unleashed a shocker. Tone icy, he vowed to email my investors claiming I embezzled code from previous gigs, tanking my startup. Though he was clueless on tech, my venture was my core, couldn't jeopardize it. Hung up, brain frying from pressure. Beyond inability to host, I had a conference in weeks to pitch in Europe, meeting key VCs first time. Dated my partner long, crucial. She was presenting me to mentors. Needed flawless. Now turmoil via brother. Desperate, called Dad. Unshocked, he backed him as ever. I noted brother didn't deliver them personally. Dad said they were mature enough solo. He shamed me, claiming brother aided me loads. Repaid this once as I never did. That ignited me. I roared, demanding one instance brother enhanced my existence. I accused both of never supporting, viewing me as an outsider, not kin. Insisted Dad visit so, if needed, he could supervise while I traveled. When Dad showed, he was frosty, eyeing me disdainfully as usual. We convened in my den, and he scolded I was a lousy kin. Family aids in crisis. I dismissed it, probing what deal trumped ditching kids on a near stranger who hated him. Said suspicious, vanishing 12 weeks, abandoning youth illogical. Demanded facts if dragged in unwillingly. Dad's expression altered. He confessed brother wasn't dealing business. He was funded by a crypto scam partner overseas. I chuckled, assuming jest, but solemn. Drained, I erupted, questioning his endorsement. Called brother a failure fleeing for shady crypto instead of legit work for his daughters. Dad reversed my barbs, shielding him internally, eventually snarling no matter my apps or loft, I'd remain the dim bulb next to brother's spark. Born average, perish average. I held back from ejecting him, yelled to depart, but he defied, shoving me fiercely into my desk with my prototype gadget for my partner. It cracked. Witnessing it ruined crushed me, full breakdown, howling, weeping, vowing cops. Regretful, girls overheard elsewhere, but shattered. Post-ousting him, girls emerged, eyes huge, anxious, forlorn. Tore my soul. Scarcely knew them, yet innocence with rotten dad. Empathized. Grabbed takeout, permitted cartoons, apps until dozed. Reconnected brother later, berated for chaos. Raised welfare again. He cackled menacingly, reiterating investor smear on fabricated theft. Snarled I was zilch sans startup, revert to nobody. Pierced deep, truth, identity and innovation, guard it. Weeping, queried his hatred, why forsake girls for crypto con? He boasted he could rake millions in weeks via schemes I'd never grasped. Aiming to diminish, succeeded. Debated until he disconnected with the ultimate menace. Collapsed crying, impotent. Girls below streaming show, upstairs solitude. Phoned partner, untouched since drop. Melted venting, threats, dad's scorn, entrapment. Worlds apart, she soothed, backed, sole ally, thankful. She noted brother possibly criminal via abandonment, extortion, gather proof, propose recontact, record investor lie, repeat covertly. New history, brother deranged, prep, alarmed but accurate, overloaded yet consented, still aimed girls secure, cherished, recalled unwanted youth, avoiding inflicting them on them, descended joint app game, enjoyable, they amazed I coded mods and chuckled at my wins, unexpected connection over sushi who eats most challenge, discovered adoration, unlike dad, courteous, manners, tidied, shy initially but witty, endearing, spotted worn shoes, younger's outfits baggy, packs held outdated ill-fit items, unsurprised brother negligent, stingy, took mall for fresh gear, Teared up often, they flourished, jubilant. Recalled neglect, desired they since valued and joyful. Bought all fancied, irresistible. Elder shy grand warmed, got gotstras, devices. Exited with proper attire, comfy, plus gaming consoles. Tough resist pamper, childless, ample funds. They wept, embraced on consoles. Drive back, younger sobbed anew. Inquired okay, she wondered why kind if she'd earned it. Affirmed deserved as my girls too, youth merit joy. Intensified tears, said mad at dad isolating us. Shattered heart, sorry, glad now, unforeseen. Quizzed home, predicted grim. They divulged dad's harshness, soul fractured at anguish. New brother, partner vile, but raw pain hit. Prepped feast, they gamed evening. Left them rang brother for scheme. Composed despite fury. Simple pivots at theft. Welfare mention he hurled firing for phantom steel. Uncaring lie. Claimed none trust thief like me, undeserved success.